So for this particular one, for the Volgon 42, I created an image of Volgon and found a 42 that I thought was sort of poetic, and then added them together, and then brought that into the AI program and let it do its thing. I added some more prompts and let it just run. And you end up with...
Where'd you get the 42 for Volgon?
This one I just found online. I thought it was a nice poetic looking 42, and it worked perfectly for this villain. And so what happens is, so I added a little bit of texture to this number 42, and then I plugged in the image of Volgon, and then I put Volgon on a kind of interesting background. And what's interesting about it is that the source reference image looked absolutely nothing like this. The only thing that's the same is the basic kind of shapes, but the actual texture, color, all of that stuff is imbued into the image via two things: my prompts, my text prompts, and what the AI decides should be there. As an example, the two eyes you see there, one of them looks like a ruby. The one on the right looks like a gem, but I didn't plug that in. That just came through from the AI. And I'll reveal one little secret here. What I do is create between 5 and 20 or 30 renders of the same exact thing, changing the prompts slightly as needed. And then, especially with the 42s, they are usually a hybrid of 3 or 4 different renders. So this one is a hybrid of probably 3 or 4. The 42 was great on one render. The Volgon creature was really good on another render. And in this case, that right eye behind it was nothing. It was like he didn't have an eye there. So I took that eye from another render and grafted it onto this one.
Oh, I see.
So it's a bit of a mixture, and then after they are the NFTs are mixed, I put it through another AI, which is like a neural filter, and tell it to add different effects. It's more obvious on some of the other NFTs, but if you scroll up to the top, you'll see that there's these weird little streaky things in the background.
Yeah.
So that's as a result of the neural filter.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And then I add another filter which just kind of softens out all of the elements. A lot of times the AI will render something, but the edges are sometimes a little too harsh. And so, yeah. And then, of course, there's color correction. This is all in Photoshop where you color correct it.
And here's another one, right? Just to show like how different they are, man. It's just going to blow people's minds. And when the AI, it's so cool. It's somehow the composition stays the same. I mean, what about this one? So what?
So this one was a little different. I chose a different font for 42, and of course a different background, different colors. And then I brought my image created in Photoshop into the AI program, and then put in different prompts. In this case, it was pixelated. I think I had trippy alien pixelated 42, something like that, and then red and blue. And I think I got probably 10 or 12 that I liked out of many, and then mixed some of those together. And then there are things that happen also. In this case, some of those pixels that you're seeing, those sort of rough pixels there, came out either blue or green. The red ones came out blue or green.
Huh?
And
Even these.
yeah, and in this case, it was for this particular NFT. The 42 was a little less apparent when you looked at it.
Yeah.
So I took a bunch of pixels and carefully selected them and changed their color to red, and then ran it through my neural filter and my softener and color correction and all that stuff.
That's so cool. Like this one, especially when I was looking at the set, it looks 3D. You know, when I saw it out the corner of my eye, it was like, I don't know, 3D. It looks so cool. Like if you see it when it's small, you know, it looks like 3D. Isn't that
Yeah.
cool? So cool. Yeah. Because I mean, I love the avatars. I love having a circular avatar like this. And I think it'll just look so cool for people that are 42s. You know, Sarah's one. Like you're going to get one of these, Sarah. So we were just talking about
Yes.
how we're going to do the reveal. So basically, we're not going to do the review. So if you buy a 42, then you're going to just get a number, and all of us are not going to know. So we have 11 team members. We're going to get one each, and we're not going to know which one we got, right?
Yeah.
Until the reveal. We're going to do at the balloon results meeting. So while we're at the balloon results meeting, we say, all right, everybody, you know, here's the power of Web 3.0. Look at what you got. All right, here's the reveal. Okay, so hopefully, hopefully that happens.
Total
I
surprise
think it
for
will.
everyone.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, because you look, it's just small. It's same with the other one. You know, if you look, it's
Yeah.
I know you check all this stuff for sure, but you know, it's just so cool how it's just visible. I think it's just going to stand out like great. And when you zoom all the way in, it's just like you said. I mean, just the detail overlaid, these cool neural networks, the animations. It's
Thank
so
you.
awesome. SeaStone, I love it, man. The whole
There's-
collection is amazing.
Yeah, there's one more aspect to this which I find really fascinating. I've been interested in the rise of artificial intelligence systems over the last 10, 20 years. And there are a lot of people like Ray Kurzweil who believe that, you know, the singularity is near, where AIs become as intelligent as we are or more. And I've been very intrigued by that and a little scared by it as well. But I've never really felt viscerally a connection to what Ray Kurzweil and others talk about with artificial intelligence. And in this case, I've been working with a few different AIs over the last couple of months, and I have really felt this kind of visceral relationship that emerges between us. And I know that the AI on the other end doesn't have a personality or anything, or doesn't have consciousness, let's say, probably.
Yeah.
But there is a a kind of give and take between us, and you know, the AI doesn't give you good results immediately sometimes, so you have to kind of warm it up, and sometimes you have to give it just a few prompts, a few adjectives, and then other times it responds right away. But most of the time, you kind of have to coax it into providing what it is you want. And it's almost like the AI gets into different moods. Sometimes when I sit down for a session, it's like, you know, I put in the same prompts, but I don't get good results. And I don't know.
And you said it's different, right? You get different results every time. Like every single time is different.
Every single time. You can plug in
How does that work?
a fairly detailed, very specific set of prompts, and every single one is going to be different, and dramatically different too.
Oh God.
There's an exception to that. You can use a photographic reference, and if you tell it to follow that reference very closely, then everything that gets generated will still be different, but the shape, the general shape, will be very, very similar. And I find that to be less interesting than if you don't use a photographic reference at all and just let the AI interpret from the words.
So you like the word inputs.
I like it better. It didn't work, excuse me, it didn't work so well for the 42s. So I had to use a visual reference for the
Yeah, I
40.
guess we should mention that is the 42s are actually their own specific little set inside of the greater set. They're actually pretty different from the main collection.
Yeah.
They
What's your
are.
take on it? Yeah, how do you describe it, Colin?
I would say that the 42s, even though I would categorize them as also being somewhat dreamy, they're a little less dreamlike than the main collection. So when I plug in something like achromic, Aurelian, Elder, trippy, alien, something like that, that means that means it's some kind of an alien that has this, aristocratic or diplomatic position as an elder, and it's supposed to be achromic, meaning not much color, but Aurelian, which means it has gold. And what results is something that is very, very, very loosely interpreted as an elder.
Yeah,
So
even the word trippy, I can understand something, Chris can understand something. I'm sure the AI has a million or
yeah,
more inputs.
and I don't know what the AI is doing. It's probably reaching out in a Google search for anything that kind of looks trippy.
Yeah.
And but what's truly amazing about AI these days, these tools, is that they are able to coalesce, 10, 12, 15, 20 different words in a string and a description. And it's English language. And the AI understands roughly what you're trying to say. And of course, in our case, in the tools that we've decided to use, the results are very amorphous, and they take on more meaning with a description, like polychromic or achromic elder, alien elder, which is, those are the descriptions that we put for each, those are the traits and the description that we put for each NFT. So if you're looking at the traits and then you look at the NFT, you say, okay, I see how that works. If you just saw the NFT on its own, you might get a sense that it's sort of alien-like. Or in the case of, we have a whole line of apes. So a lot of them do look like apes, or they look like specific kinds of monkeys. So you sort of get that sense even without the traits. But if you look at the traits and the NFT together, I think that's where it all kind of comes together.
Yeah, together. You mentioned it's combined.
Yeah, but I think in the person's mind, in the viewer's mind, they can see the imagination of the traits and what the NFT actually looks like.
Yeah.
So, SeaStone, I have a question for you. Do you think you learned the language of the AI, or did the AI learn your language?
That's a really good question, and I think the answer is both. So when I first started creating these NFTs, I didn't really know the language that would produce what I consider really good results, what I like.
Okay.
And so there were phrases and terms that I was leaving out, or maybe I was putting in too many of a certain kind. And the results that I got were not clean. They were not as well defined. And at first, I liked them. And then as I got more refined with my understanding of what the AI wanted or would respond better to, I started to like my first NFTs less and less. And so I think I learned over, probably within a month or two, I started to learn, okay, if I'm asking for this type of character with a certain kind of background, I'm going to have to use this kind of language. And there are some phrases that I would use over and over and over and get great results. But I think what I was talking about earlier, where the AI almost seemed to respond in a way to me, is that it would often reward me unexpectedly. I would be putting some things in, and maybe I had just done a string that didn't come out quite right, so I tweaked a few words, tweaked a few more, and then suddenly the AI seemed to be saying to me, now we're talking. That's what I wanted. And the results would just pop out with incredible results. So yeah, I don't know. It's really a little bit hard to describe, but I had this feeling after the first month that it was responding to me in ways that it didn't at the beginning.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Excellent. Yeah, it's awesome, Colin. I'm so excited to see this, getting some feedback as well. So thanks so much, SeaStone, for being here and for giving some input into the AI. You're the AI whisperer, and I think it's legit, man. You've been doing this for, I think, over 5 months on this just one collection. I mean, I think your arm actually had some issues. So, dude, it's going to be amazing. I'm so excited to release it. I think it's just going to blow people's socks off.
I hope so. I hope people really enjoy it.
I hope so too, man. All right. Thanks for being here.
Sure thing.